Hello and welcome to the Motorway Man, and welcome to a new series where I'll be looking at all of the service station operators. In this series I'll be taking a look at all the service station operators, featuring popular names like Motor and Westmoreland, as well as others as well. We'll be looking at the history, branding, logos and future development along this new series, and today we're looking at Roadchef. So, some basic facts to start us off then. Roadchef's newest site is going to be Catterick Services on the A1M, but that site's still under construction and won't open for a few more years. They are based and have their headquarters at an office area built into Norton Keynes Services. Their largest site is Clackett Lane on the M25, and the smallest site is Bothwell. And by far Roadchef's most busy and most popular site is Clackett Lane, which we can learn a bit more about later on. So, let's get into the video, and I do hope you enjoy it. So, Roadchef is the oldest of all the present operators to still survive today. Roadchef was originally established in 1972, and its first name was Galleon Roadchef, but the name Galleon being later dropped a bit later on. Now, the new company wasted no time in establishing a logo and bidding on sites. Now, the following service stations were among Roadchef's first bids. They bid for Hamilton Services, Bothwell Services, Taunton Dean and Sandbach, to name a few. And what's interesting is Roadchef owns all these sites in the present day, so it's nice to see they've survived. Now, in the 1970s, competition was rife between service station operators, and for a new company, Roadchef had to stand out from the crowd. They attempted to do this by, rather than doing lots of small things like offering, a few smaller amenities, like what other operators do, they offered one big thing, usually in the form of a big restaurant. And beginning in the 1980s, Roadchef began to open small restaurants. One of these was the Happy Eater, which we can see on screen now. But unfortunately, these smaller chains of restaurants never really did the trick, and it was time for Roadchef to introduce new major brands. And beginning in the 1990s, new brands such as Wimpy and W.H. Smith and McDonald's were brought in. Now, these new brands brought Roadchef much success, and in 1993 they were able to open their biggest site ever, Clackett Lane on the M25, which, by the way, is still Roadchef's biggest site in the present day. While we're talking about Clackett Lane, did you know it's the only service station to house Roman artefacts? Anyway, back to Roadchef. Now, around this time, Roadchef was doing very well, and they began to develop their own hotel chain called the Roadchef Lodge. Now, as you know, all service stations have hotels, and if you do want to learn more about service station hotels, by the way, then check out my playlist on sleeping at a service station, because that was my experience of staying at one. So anyway, back to Roadchef. All hotels at Roadchef sites were meant to be these, the Roadchef Lodge, but unfortunately they never really worked as they weren't as profitable as the main buildings, so unfortunately Roadchef was forced to close them all down or sell them to other hotel chains, with the Days Inn now being Roadchef's hotel partner rather than being an own brand. Now, following an unfortunate fail with the hotels, Roadchef attempted to recover, and they did this very cleverly. Rather than building new large sites, they tactically bought smaller, already developed sites that would require less investment. They purchased Watford Gap and Streatham Services in 1998, for example, so it's a very good idea with Roadchef there. Now, this move appeared to help them recover, and in 2004, Roadchef opened their flagship site, Norton Keynes. It was the nicest and most modern of the service stations on the motorway at that point, and certainly the nicest that Roadchef owns, and it still remains the flagship site to this day. But unfortunately, after a brief success, around 2007 and 2008, Roadchef once again encountered financial difficulty. To begin making money again, they were forced to sell sites to competitors. For example, they sold Winchester Services to Moto in 2008. How unfortunate for Roadchef. However, it seemed that shaking off the unprofitable sites was a good idea, and now Roadchef was in a stable financial condition, and in 2011 they brought out the operator first and acquired all of their sites, adding even more to Roadchef's monopoly on service stations. So it seems like Roadchef is starting to do quite well now. So anyway, that brings us to the present day, and I'm happy to say that for the first time since 2004, Roadchef are financially stable enough to begin to build new sites, and they're not just going to be building one, they're building two. Hooray! So yeah, they're planning to build Selby services and Catterick services, both on the A1M, and that will cost a total combined of £130 million plus to construct. And I can't wait to visit them in a few short years, and I do wish Roadchef the best for the future, of course, as well. Right, now we've looked at Roadchef's history, let's check out their logo history. So as we can see, Roadchef's first logo was a motorway sign with a chef on the top. Then in 1977, it was changed to a cup symbol with the chef sat. Following 1984, Roadchef's new logo was the road in blue and the chef in red, which we can see there. And then moving on, in 1989, the sign was simplified, and between 1989 and 2001, it was the Roadchef logo featuring an all-red name. In 2001, a modernisation of Roadchef occurred, and that's the sign that we have today. Now next up, I'll be explaining what great brands you can expect for Roadchef. So the average Roadchef service station has some great names such as Costa, W.H. Smith, Leon, McDonald's, Joe's and Noodle, Food Cafe and Spa. So there's some great brands for you to enjoy. Now just to let you know, the following service stations are all Roadchef if you're interested. Arnondale Water, Bothwell, Catterick, Chester, Clackett Lane, Durham, Hamilton, Killington Lake, Magor, Maidstone, Northampton, Northern Keynes, Pont Abraham, Rownhams, Sandbach, Sedgemoor, Stafford South, Strensham, Sutton, Scotney, Taunton Dean, Tibshelf and Watford Gap. Have you visited any of those, or would you like to visit any of those? I'm very curious. Now, the good thing for Roadchef is they haven't actually sold a lot of sites. They've actually only sold two major ones in their time, that being Heart of Scotland services on the M8 in Scotland and Winchester services on the M3 in Hampshire that I just mentioned. Now, finally, I'll be explaining to you some of my favourite things. So, about Roadchef, I gotta say my favourite site has gotta be Norton Keynes. That's my favourite one I visited anyway. There's a lot I'd still like to visit, of course. Catterick, when that opens, that's going to be great. It's going to have a grass roof, loads of car parking, truck spaces, lakes and woodland, all sorts of great stuff that I'm really looking forward to. So I hope you enjoyed my video anyway, and I hope I've inspired you to sort of visit all the Roadchef service stations. You know, it is an achievable goal. I'm sure one day one of us will do it. Probably me first, but you never know, you might overtake me. So anyway, I do hope you enjoyed my episodes of my new series. Make sure you come back next Wednesday to look at a new operator. But until then, make sure you're subscribed, give me a thumbs up, and I shall catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching, subscribe to the channel, and goodbye.